What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ango Show. The studio is still under construction, but the videos are coming. So, with that being said, don't forget we're giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. Go ahead and click subscribe today. All right, guys, I appreciate everybody being patient with me, but we are back and we got everything being worked on. But the good news is the wrestling industry doesn't stop, and today there was some really incredible stuff coming out. I actually want to kick things off talking about Will Ospreay. This should be a massive news story, but the other two stories in this video are also massive. It just turns out Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast said that he was told Will Ospreay would be revealed as the new signing that AEW is hyping up for AEW Full Gear. And this is incredibly interesting considering the fact that Will Ospreay was rumored to potentially go to WWE. There were some rumors that he might go to TNA. But obviously there is a little bit of disappointment amongst fans as well because Will Ospreay has been all over AEW television and pay-per-views, so it's not like this is necessarily a surprise. This is just another piece of the story in which Tony Khan continues to hype up signings and announcements and then disappoints people. So it's a very interesting, bold strategy for Tony Khan to go about this. But at the same time, too, Will Ospreay is a hell of an athlete, and he'll do really good things in AEW. And having him signed to a contract with AEW hopefully allows Will Ospreay to also go on and do things with TNA next year when they become TNA. So for those who are upset about Will Ospreay signing with AEW, don't be. You know what I mean? And in terms of what AEW provides for Will Ospreay and what he could provide for them, it is completely fine. But the good news is WWE also is very active inside of the free agent market. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in just a little bit. But you have to remember, with the WWE and AEW, both companies can offer a lot of money. They can offer a lot of benefits. There's a lot of pros to joining WWE and joining AEW. Yes, there are cons. Any job in the world has cons. But a lot of pros exist for both of these companies, and Will Ospreay going to AEW is something that it just makes a lot of sense. And plus, he's got the AEW All-In attendance number tattooed on him, which obviously is a big deal. So in regards to Will Ospreay joining AEW, I think it's fantastic. In terms of people being disappointed by the announcement, I understand the frustration, but ultimately, if it's not a Will Ospreay or a Mercedes Moné type of name, anything else would have been far more disappointing for the way that Tony Khan promoted the signing. So just kind of keep that in mind. I don't think it's that big of a deal. And look, Will Ospreay signing a contract at Full Gear, maybe they can turn this into a segment of some sort. Maybe somebody else even debuts, right? You never know. There's a lot of possibilities, a lot of potential there, and therefore I'm excited about it. And that leads us to our next topic, Okada. Yeah, I know this sounds crazy. WWE might potentially be trying to sign Okada. We know that they're going after Julia. Now it's being talked about that they have significant interest in Okada. And I swear, man, if they do this, I have no idea how they're going to go about it. But it's being talked about. And the craziest part about this Okada situation is that it's actually possible that it could happen. And look, I'm going to tell you guys, with WWE targeting Okada, you just have to understand they can have interest in Okada. That doesn't necessarily mean they are in talks with Okada. It doesn't necessarily mean that WWE is going to make a huge offer for Okada. And you sure as hell got to remember that New Japan Pro Wrestling may also keep Okada. I think it is far more likely that we will see Julia join WWE and go to NXT than it is seeing Okada go to WWE. Now, for those who don't understand any reasons as to why WWE would want Okada, Triple H has been for a very long time. He did not like the way that Japanese and Mexican talent came into the WWE. And, you know, we all seen it, the stereotypical bullshit that Vince McMahon used to do. Triple H wants to get away from that. And if you bring in Okada to the WWE would position him in such a different way than Vince McMahon would have done it under that regime. So Okada coming to WWE obviously would be a massive W. Do I think it's going to happen? No. But Dave Meltzer was talking about Okada and Julia both potentially going to WWE, and it's crazy to even think that it's a possibility because when it comes to making big signings, WWE can definitely do them, but at the same time too, you have to wonder what the hell is WWE going to do with them if they get them, and you got to keep that in mind because AEW exists And I think a lot more people would be comfortable with Okada and Julia going to AEW because they fit the in-ring style. So it's a very significant thing. It's very fun to see that WWE's interested and AEW's interested and all these companies. It's a fun time to be a wrestling fan, and that is absolutely for sure. And it's not going to be a fun time for you as a fan if you are a fan of Ronda Rousey, if you're not a fan of Ronda Rousey, because Ronda Rousey is backstage apparently at AEW Collision, at least according to WrestleVotes. WrestleVotes put out a tweet letting the fans know that she was seen backstage for AEW Collision tonight, November 17th in 2023. Now, she could just be backstage. She could be backstage because obviously Full Gear is in LA, which means Collision and Rampage are in LA. She could just be there backstage. She did Pro Wrestling Revolver. And then obviously Marina Shafir works at AEW. This is crazy, man. Ronda Rousey going to AEW. If you're not a Ronda Rousey fan, then this obviously doesn't, you're going to be pissed because AEW fans shit on Ronda Rousey when she was in the WWE. But if she goes to AEW, it definitely helps out AEW. Now, we'll see what actually happens. You know, I do not want to think it's impossible. I do not want to believe that this is impossible. I think truly Ronda Rousey could go to AEW, show up in AEW, show up at Full Gear, and if you're Tony Khan and you bring in Ronda Rousey, you might be alienating your audience because your audience has been very vocal about her performance in WWE. But it's interesting because do they genuinely feel this way or do they just put out these tweets, right? You got to remember, do they just put out these tweets for engagement farming or do they genuinely not like Ronda Rousey? Because sometimes you can make a lot of money and get a lot of impressions by just being all day just hating on things. And Ronda Rousey is a perfect example of somebody who is talented, maybe wasn't booked the best, but she's talented. She may have not been booked the best on her second run, and therefore people use that as a way to take shots at WWE, when in reality, I think, you know, there's a lot of people you could blame for it, and I don't know. It's just a very, very weird situation with Ronda Rousey and the connection with the fans. I can't tell if people are genuine about it or not, but I think she's a hell of a talent. If she shows up in AEW, you know, it's a very strong name. It helps. It definitely helps. But at the same time, too, does AEW necessarily need Ronda Rousey? Yes, I mean, it would be great to have another big name, but we have seen tons and tons of big names come into AEW, and it hasn't necessarily done a big change for them, and that is something to obviously keep in mind. So make sure you guys think about that before, you know, going nuts about a potential signing. Ultimately, from a business perspective, if TNA could afford Ronda Rousey, it would be totally different because their Knockouts division is so great. She would be a great fit there. And it would be great for the health of the industry. Otherwise, it would have just been better to stay in WWE. But who knows? We'll see what happens, guys. I have no idea. I'm excited, and that's pretty much it. I appreciate everybody being super, super patient. Like I said, we're undergoing changes, and this is not finished. This is definitely not finished, but I appreciate your guys' patience because once you see the final product, it's going to be cool. We're going to be doing some really sweet stuff. And I'm super excited about it. No more green screen, baby. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers, and I'll see you next time.